Well, football fans, free agency has gotten off to a splendid start with all kinds of deals, and it's going and with all the Broncos moves. I mean, who knows? By the end of tonight, there might be more guys getting the bag. So with tonight, I thought it'd be the perfect night for another episode of the Big D podcast. Before I'm bringing in Brad to talk all things Jags, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. See all my content. Also check out the Big D podcast for all of your listeners, Spotify and Apple. So join me, head coach of the Full Press Fantasy Podcast, and one of my favorite people to talk Jacksonville Jaguars with, Brad Harvin. So Brad, did uh did the Jags give you any of that full hog cash today?
Oh, I wish, Dylan, but yeah, let me just first say thanks for having me back on. Always good to be with you talking Jags and football. But yeah, man, what a busy opening day that is not supposed to actually nothing's official as you mentioned until what'd you say, Wednesday at 4 o'clock. But yeah, I mean, just sitting at work today, just phone blowing up. Certainly a lot going on. I didn't get any of that cash from the Jaguars. Definitely surprised that they, made a few moves, especially on the defensive side. Cutting Rayshon Jenkins, who I felt was, really the heart and soul of the defense a couple of years ago. Definitely had some tackling issues towards the end of last year. But then the whole defense really did as well when you lose, 6 out of 7. Darius Williams, who was a solid corner when Campbell went down, but kind of playing a little bit out of position because he's more of a slot guy. But they said goodbye to them and brought in a couple others. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what's going on here in Jacksonville.
I mean, it's the musical chairs of free agency. It's figuring out like who to keep, who you can get rid of, how you maneuver the cap. Because I mean, how some of these teams get on the cap is beyond me. I mean, how the New Orleans Saints get from like 90 million over the cap to under it is a miracle.
Right. For sure. And then, the Chiefs are able to restructure things and, bring Chris Jones back for what I think he signed a 5-year deal or something like that, which is pretty crazy because I think he's pushing 30. But yeah, man, it's been a wild day for sure. Just, lots of people moving around, some disgruntled Giants fans out there with Saquon Barkley going to the hated Eagles. But even before that, you had DeAndre Swift, who, somewhat resurrected his career last year with the Eagles. They only kept him around for a year, and he's headed over to Chicago, which, coming from a fantasy standpoint, I have a ton. Like, Roshan Johnson was my pick in several dynasty leagues last year, and it was looking good. He was getting some opportunities. I thought he was going to be the future there, but lo and behold, they bring in DeAndre Swift. So, I mean, I think he's going to have to play second fiddle again this year.
Oh gosh, Roshan Johnson played second fiddle to Bijan at Texas. Now he's playing second fiddle to Swift in Chicago, and then Khalil Herbert too.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah, it's crazy.
obviously, the Jags, like every team, will make moves today, and obviously the most impactful move, and maybe the most, I don't know what your opinion is the Jackson getting Gabriel Davis 3 years. What is it, up to 40 million or something like
Yeah,
that?
I think it's 39 with the opportunity to get 50 or something like that.
51.
Yeah, wow.
And so, what do you think? So, when you heard that news, what were you thinking?
I got to be honest, Dylan. With the last couple of years, I seem like I always end up with Gabe Davis on my fantasy team. So I'll give a couple perspectives. I mean, first will be the fantasy teams. Just a complete boomer bust wide receiver. I mean, just coming off his. I guess, second year in 21, there was all this hype about him and lots of talk about, this is the year that 2022 was going to be the year. And he ended up with 48 catches. Yeah, he had 836 yards and 7 touchdowns. So, I mean, he's a big play receiver. But last year, he even took a step back from that, only having 45 catches, less than 750 yards, but still got those 7 touchdowns. So from a fantasy standpoint, which at full press coverage, that's, really what we kind of focus on. Gabe Davis is certainly a thorn in my side. Like I said, I always seem to get him waiting to see if this is the year. However, I mean, he's a former 4th round pick. Obviously, huge payday coming from his rookie contract. He's coming, I guess, kind of back home. I guess he grew up in Fernandina Beach, which is about a little less than an hour north of where I am, right here in Jacksonville. And I feel like he's comparable to Zay Jones. So I don't know if they're going to do anything with Zay Jones as far as like a deep threat. However, he's not going to have to share the ball with a diva like Stephon Diggs. So, and Trevor likes to spread it around. So, I mean, I think if things work out where Ridley goes away, which we're still waiting to kind of hear, and Davis kind of moves into that 2 role, I think you're going to see him, perform much better than he has the last 2 years. Will he perform his contract? I don't know. Not many people really actually do that, but I mean, he's going to be a deep threat. Trevor throws a good deep ball. To be able to, get down the field, I'm not sold on him, mainly because I'm stuck in fantasy land. However, the kid's coming back home. He played college ball at UCF. Maybe a change of scenery, and you got to also. He turns 25 in April, so he's still a young guy. Get those 3 years out of him and kind of see what happens. What about you, bud?
You know what? I actually think it's a very interesting gamble because
Yeah,
Gabe Davis is a big play receiver. He's what we all want in fantasy because he'll either go 2 for 20 or 2 for 200.
yeah.
But Gabe Davis offers tons of big play ability. But there were problems with him. Steph Diggs really wanted the ball. And in Buffalo, guess what the Bills played? Bills played half the home games in bad weather.
Right.
The last time I saw, you could probably attest to it. I don't remember it snowing in Jacksonville.
No, it's been a while. It's been a while for sure. I think I was young. I was a young little Brad back then, back in the mid '80s sometime. But
Yeah.
nothing like what they see in Buffalo for sure.
A, B. You remember a couple years ago when the Jags gave Christian Kirk the bag? Everybody like, why are the Jags giving Christian Kirk all the money? Well, then in 22, Christian Kirk put up 1,100 yards.
Right.
I think Gabriel Davis can be that kind of a player. Plus, in Buffalo, defensive-minded head coach Rashawn McDermott, Doug Peterson's an offensive-minded head coach with Trevor, Kirk, Zay Jones, Gabe Davis, Ingram, and Etienne. Jags have got a really interesting offense, and
For sure.
Davis can be that guy. The Jags don't need him running, post patterns or screen pass. They just need him running 9 routes because guess what? If you try and double Kirk, if you try and take away Ingram or stop the run,
he's going to get behind. For sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that Jaguars offense. I mean, they came in last year with a whole lot of hype, tremendously underperformed in my opinion. I mean, yes, they averaged over 20 points a game scoring, but definitely faltered down the end. A lot of that, due to injuries. The quarterback wasn't right. But yeah, the inability to really take the top off, and Christian Kirk being out really decimated that offense, in my opinion, because as you mentioned, rolling coverage over to him, leaving other people open. I mean, Ingram was pretty much the beneficiary of all that. Ridley, popped up here and there, but I mean, I think with the Gabe Davis signing, I think the writing's on the wall that they're going to move on from Ridley, which I'm not a huge fan of because I backed that guy, last year pretty hard as far as from a fantasy standpoint. And sure, he had some difficulty, I guess, kind of running some wrong routes. Didn't really have the connection that maybe Kirk and Lawrence have, but still put up over 1,000 yards, had 76 catches, 8 touchdowns. It's going to be hard to replace that. I mean, can you get a combination with that with Davis and Jones? And then, as we were talking, at the beginning of the show, do you bring in a receiver through the draft? So I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think they're done at the wide receiver position for sure.
No, especially with this being one of the deepest wide receiver drafts in history. I mean, we know the big three: Ohio State's Marvin Harrison Jr., LSU's Malik Neighbors, and Washington Rome Odunze will all be first-round picks. Probably all be top 10 picks. I mean, obviously, the Jags sitting in 17 probably won't get one of those guys. So then maybe that second tier of wide receivers. You look at Brian Thomas from LSU. Who's the Xavier Worley ran a 4.21 at the combine. And I know speed's not speed, but 4.21 still.
That's moving. Yeah.
That's anybody that neither one of us can move.
Yeah, for sure. Even in my minivan, I'm not going that fast.
So even if the Jags sign Gabriel Davis, even with the Gabriel Davis move, I think the Jags could very well draft a wide receiver because Christian Harrell, Zay Jones, Davis, the Jags need a young guy with these cats.
Yeah, and then the argument would be, but the 6th rounder last year, Parker Washington, who came in and did a few good things, his rookie season, but he's, in my opinion, from what I saw, it seemed like he was kind of small. I think the moment was a little too big for him. So if you can get one of these, bigger bodies that can withstand the NFL a little bit, coming straight out of college, I think at 17. If Brian Thomas is there, I think that they'll probably strongly consider him because they made some moves on the offensive line, which was a huge disappointment last year. So I think making those changes within free agency, I think that opens up opportunity for a wide receiver. They also got some defensive help on the backside. So I'm thinking either defensive line or receiver with that number 17 pick.
Well, I mean, the Jags' offensive line was wretched, particularly up the middle last year. It seemed like every game Travis Etienne was going backward on half his runs.
Yeah, especially after week 8 or something like that. Yeah, for sure.
And so the Jags signed Mitch Morse to a 2-year deal. Mitch actually played with Doug Peterson in, I think, Kansas City. So, I mean, Morse and Peterson go back a long way. I don't think Morse is what he was a few years ago, but the Jags don't need him to be Jason Kelce. They just need him to be productive.
Yeah. And stop the heat coming up from the middle for sure.
Yeah. So, obviously, because everybody was thinking center could have been a potential pick for the Jags at 17. I'm trying to think. Who's the Oregon center?
The name's escaping me. I've definitely heard it on the radio a few times, but
it's the Jackson Powers Johnson.
Yeah, there you go.
Sounds like it should be in the next Austin Powers movie, right?
Exactly.
So obviously, more said the need for a center isn't immediate. The Jags re-up with Cleveland to be the left guard. Brandon Sheriff still at right guard. Jacksonville rearranging his deal.
Restructured his, yeah. I've been hearing some rumors that even though Cam Robinson's, sign that he could be up for sale to clear some space, put Walker Little back at left tackle, and give them some more money to play with. And I don't know, maybe they bring in, some another exciting piece or something on the, some other free agent. But that's just a rumor I heard earlier this afternoon. But so I'm not exactly sure. So weird relationship with Cam Robinson here. Very, very strange. It's off and on. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, because the PD suspension, inconsistency. You would love your left tackle to be more of a pass blocking left tackle.
Yeah. Yeah, he was franchise tagged once. But it's weird. I'm not sure if everybody's on the same page with him.
Do you think the Jags solidified their whole line with these moves, re-signings, and then signing Morse?
I think they did. I think the interior certainly got upgraded with. Cleveland came in and he did some good things. Late last year, and he's still going to be able to really just lock down that left guard spot, which is something they've been trying to do probably for a couple of years now. I think Luke Fortner, kind of taking a back seat to Morse, maybe learn some tricks. I don't know what it will be. There's definitely a big question on physicality when it came to him, and not necessarily his leadership, but just he was just getting moved off the line. And if Sheriff can, get past these injuries that he dealt with all last year, he definitely took his bumps and bruises on the field and from the fans as well, because he's got a nice little price tag on him too. Once again, probably not the player that he was, 4 or 5 years ago, but if he can get back on track and and that interior can start moving people off the spot, maybe ETN can get going. Tackle wise, I got the rookie at right tackle, Harrison, and then that left tackle. Like I said, right now it's Robinson. Also, Little can go either left or right, but I think they feel like they addressed it. They had a lot of work to do. I think it definitely. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that they propelled into the top 10 offensive lines in the league, but coming from probably 29 or 30, they probably moved up a good 5 to 10 spots. We'll just kind of see how it shakes out. They got to protect Trevor for sure.
Absolutely, because Trevor was taking a beating last year. I think Trevor played about 79 injuries at some point last season.
Yeah.
He played with a bum knee, a bum ankle, a bum shoulder, and a concussion.
Yeah.
Am I missing anything?
I think that was it, and maybe a bruised ego as well. I don't know.
Maybe a bruised hairdo.
Yeah, maybe.
So, honestly, and then defensively, the Jags also added Darnell Savage, the former Packers safety, Jackson,
Yeah,
Rayshawn Jenkins. So Savage is coming to Duval County.
Yep.
What do you think Savage brings?
I think he brings a little bit of a spark. I saw him play, a few times in Green Bay. He seems like he's a physical safety. He comes up and can make the tackles, which is, like I said, what Jenkins was kind of lacking towards the end of last year. Savage is going to be, not only does he have a cool last name, but he's not going to be afraid to go in there and put his head on a running back or two, to keep him from extended drives. So he's not necessarily the fastest one out there, but to play safety, you don't really have to have that. You have to recognize what the other team is doing, and it seems like he has that capability, which Rayshawn had as well. But I just think the tackling capability is going to be an asset for the defense.
Well, if you think back to that playoff game with the pick six against the Cowboys,
Yeah.
Savage with a savage blow against Dallas.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Maybe the biggest move for the Jaguar defense was getting that defensive coordinator from the Falcons. I heard a lot of rave reviews about the DC in Atlanta Jags picked up.
Nielsen?
Ryan Nielsen, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean he's coming in with a new attitude, with more experience than was here. So it looks like they're changing the attitude with playing a little more man to man, which I think that also contributed to some of the moves with bringing Darby in and hoping for a healthy Tyson Campbell, who was disappointing last year, really due to injuries. But I think coming in, doing a little more press man, I think that's going to open up things on the edge for the franchise tag, Josh Allen, hopefully Trayvon Walker. Those two, combined for 27 and a half sacks last year, or 28. Hopefully that they can increase that number if those guys can handle themselves on an island out there. Which I mean, it's all about personnel and getting those hats on the other players and keeping them in front.
I know you were happy the Jags franchised Josh Allen. I mean, ultimately, I would have to think Josh Allen's going to get a crazy deal. I mean, I don't think the Jags can have Josh Allen on the franchise tag.
Right. Yeah. I think that's yeah. I mean, it sounds like the talks are back on. A little bit of negotiations. So when it happened, I was a little upset because I was like, okay, just franchise Ridley and work with Allen. Allen really wants to be here. Let's make something happen. But it sounds like there was a little bit more pushback from Allen's camp. He really wanted to get paid. So I mean, they kind of obviously let Ridley, just hands off on him. Like I said, I know it's not over yet, but it certainly looks like the writing's on the wall. But yeah, tagging Allen for that price tag is going to be pretty rich. I do hope they're able to get something figured out here in the upcoming months, and Allen can be a Jaguar for the next 4 or 5 years.
I mean, some of these deals with defensive linemen scare me because I'm like, Josh Allen might get that and then some, but
For sure.
But here's one thing the Jags have going for them: no state income tax.
There you go.
It might not hurt so much. I mean, you saw the deal that Brian Burns signed. I think it was
Right.
5 for 150 with like
Oof.
90 something million guaranteed.
Crazy
After
money.
being traded from Carolina to New York.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping they figure something out here. Wow, I didn't know he got that. That's pretty crazy. Wow. Yeah, it's a premium position. I mean, you got to stop that quarterback one way or another. So yeah, I mean, they get paid now off the edge, and because they are such an integral part of the game. So to stop that other team.
When T. Higgins, I don't know if it was T. Higgins or his agent said T. Higgins wants out of Cincinnati. I was hoping he said I was hoping he was thinking Jacksonville because Trevor Lawrence and T. Higgins and Clemson were a match made in heaven. Well,
Sure.
Trevor Lawrence, T. Higgins, and Travis Etienne were a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
And were you thinking, could T. Higgins be a Jaguar?
Yeah, that rumor was certainly floating around. Pretty sure that's squashed right now with the Davis signing. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens there in Cincinnati because obviously they have Jamar Chase. They got to pay him next year, if my math is correct. And yeah, I mean, that's gonna really throw a wrench into things. I'm pretty sure. Cincinnati will squash those trade talks, and he'll at least be on their team this year. I don't know if they're going to get a deal figured out or not, but Yeah, I mean, it would have been something to have that, Lawrence Etienne and Higgins reunite here in Duval.
Just make us the Jacksonville Tigers.
Yeah, for sure.
But
Oh, yeah.
but then again, if you could be Robin the Jamal Chase's Batman, it's not necessarily a bad thing either.
I agree. And I gotta be out. Once again, my fantasy mindset goes in there. I've never had any shares of Higgins anywhere, but I know whenever I would go against him, I was never too nervous because he was going to be hurt or something like he definitely is a little more injury prone than than some of those receivers out there, which kind of makes me wonder, why he's being kind of putting on that diva hat a little bit. But still, super talented for sure.
He wouldn't be a wide. T. Higgins wouldn't be a wide receiver if he didn't have any diva to his name.
That's true. Absolutely.
I mean, maybe Jerry Rice and Larry Fitzgerald are the only wide receivers with no diva.
That's true. Good point. Fair enough.
So, by the way, where do you think? Not saying Cincinnati will trade him, but where would Cincinnati trade him to? Carolina?
That'd be a slap to the face. I don't know. I'm not sure. It looks like the Raiders are just trying to load up on defense to try and combat everybody in the AFC West. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess that was like my immediate thought. Yeah, I'm not sure where he would, fit in or who's got the cap space for something of his caliber.
New England?
I don't know. They just re-signed Bourne, and I know Ridley is supposedly already linked in them.
Why not go get T. Higgins?
Agreed. True.
Because Kendrick Bourne's coming off a torn ACL.
Right. Which is crazy that he re-signed, coming off that. Oops, sorry. I don't know the numbers or anything, but I think it was pretty comparable to Davis, or was that somebody else I was looking at earlier today?
It was 3 for 18, but it could be like 3 for 30 something million.
Gotcha. Yeah, I must be thinking about somebody else.
Heck, Kirk Cousins signed a 4-year deal with the Falcons coming off a torn Achilles.
Sure. Yeah. Is he going to be ready? Game 1? I don't know.
If he's doing Aaron Rodgers treatment, probably.
Yeah. Or Cam Akers, yeah.
It's
a busy day.
Obviously, with the 17th pick in the draft, Jackson's smack down in the middle. It's a deep draft for quarterbacks, wide receivers, those pass catchers. Not a great draft for your safety or running back, but that's a story for another day, right? So
sure.
I don't know how much NFL draft. I don't know how much you study the NFL draft. What position do you think the Jags should address with that first round pick?
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm a little behind this year, trying to keep track of everything. But I feel like the way things kind of shaped up today, they handled their business, getting Gabe Davis for wide receiver. They have they have a new corner, new safety. I feel like if there is a name or maybe you can help me out with a name for interior defensive lineman. I don't know if that would be a reach at 17. So just the defensive line last year up the middle was very porous. So it could be somebody they could go get at in free agency as well. So I'm thinking defensive lineman or wide receiver.
I like the wide receiver idea, but to be honest, I think the Jags need to get a corner. I think the Jags need to get a corner.
Okay.
Because free agency corners are hit and miss, and we saw J.C. Jackson absolutely flame out in L.A. I think he alienated everybody in Georgia Lane.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's one guy in particular I want at 17, and it's the Toledo corner Quinyon Mitchell.
Yes, I've heard that name.
This guy's really good. This guy's really good. Yeah, he played at Toledo. I don't care. This guy's should be a first round pick and should be a top 20 pick. He's
Mm-hmm.
that good. I mean, good. I know the who's the Ono kid from Alabama. I'm like, Mitchell's the guy I want.
Okay. Yeah, I heard he showed out pretty well in the Senior Bowl practices as well. I guess Kyle and I talked about this, I guess, a couple weeks ago on the podcast, and he seems to think that he's going to go before Jacksonville. So, I mean, hopefully that's not the case. I mean, if he were to fall, I think the new offensive coordinator Nielsen, with his man-to-man press coverage ideas, bringing that to the table. I think you can't pass on Mitchell.
And plus, Tyson Campbell was hurt a lot last year. He dealt with a nagging hamstring injury.
Yeah.
Think back to 2022. Tyson Campbell was a Pro Bowl level cornerback.
For sure.
And then, I mean, if Mitchell's not there, I mean, Jags could get a wide receiver because seemingly you can't have enough wide receivers. I mean, the Chiefs might as well be linked to every wide receiver in free agency of the draft.
Sure.
I'm like, the Chiefs play checkers with salary cap space. I'm like, how do the Chiefs give Chris Jones all that money?
Right. Yeah, they're getting creative. I mean that salary cap moved up another 37 million or something, I think. But still, just gave them the opportunity to move things around, and Jones is going to be their probably retired chief.
Yeah,
We'll have to keep seeing him.
Now they have Pat Mahomes retired chief, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. They'll have 3 guys go in the Hall of Fame.
Yep, and just rotate receivers. Yep.
Yeah, instead of rinse and repeat, it'll be rinse and rotate.
Yep.
Maybe it'll be rinse, rotate, and rice.
Yeah, there you go. That's probably what it'll be. I like that. The 3 R's for sure.
By the way, thinking back to Rashid Rice, I mean, last year's draft, the Jags drafted Brennan Strange in the 2nd round, and then Tank Bigsby in the 3rd round. You realize who the Jags could have gotten at some point?
Yeah.
Bell.
Yeah.
You might have heard of him.
Yes, for sure.
Devon Achane. You might have heard of him.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. I know the wide receiver. Puka Nacua set all kinds of rookie records last year.
5th rounder. Yep. For sure.
I mean, those feel like wasted picks.
Yeah. I mean, some of those guys are, not even on the team anymore. Been let go, or you definitely got to question that front office. I mean, Trent Baalke's definitely taken some heat, especially this last year after the big celebration that happened in 2022 of losing to the Chiefs in the divisional round. But I digress. Just lots of questions on the front office's eye for talent around here. So hopefully they get things straight here. I think having a new DC in who has experience, I think hopefully he'll. I really think he played a role in getting Savage and Darby. So maybe he can convince them on Mitchell for sure. I mean, I think Mitchell pretty much speaks for himself. But if he's there at 17, get another lockdown corner for at least the next couple of years.
Yeah, and maybe just having new ideas, because it seemed like for some reason the Jags defense could not tackle Wolf or Fly. Like I saw that Week 18 game against Tennessee, and I'm like, You have got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry's going to knock us out of the playoffs again.
Yeah.
This is the same song we've seen for the last 8 years.
Exactly.
Get him out of
They returned the favor for sure.
Oh, true. Turn about his fair play for what happened in 22, right?
Right, for sure. So, did you have any thoughts on them bringing in Mac Jones for a six rounder?
I actually thought it was a really good move. Here's why. Mac Jones from Jacksonville, high
Right.
school American,
Sure.
put together one of the greatest seasons in college football for Alabama in 2020. First round pick from New England. 2021, he was a very productive, very reliable starting quarterback with Josh McDaniels. But the last 2 years, New England gave him a defensive-minded offensive coordinator and a washed-up OC.
Right.
The Patriots put together one of the most put together a pitiful offensive personnel group with
Agreed.
with no linemen, no
Agreed.
wide receivers, no tight ends capable of changing games. The only, and I mean only half decent player for the New England offense was Ramondre Stevenson.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, he's come here. I mean, I don't know, what kind of opportunity he has. I mean, Jaguar fans obviously want Trevor on the field, but yeah, I mean, you said it there. I mean, he was in New England, had really no help on the outside. I mean, I remember watching the Buffalo game that was with the crazy wind, and they threw 4 passes. I'm like, what is this, high school football? Back in the early '90s. I mean, that's what my high school ran. Is if we were, if we had 4 passes, that was a big game for us. So, but yeah, I mean, coming back home. I mean, I think that's yeah, I think that's gonna help his mindset out a lot. So, but
I mean, it's a low risk, high reward move because if Trevor plays, guess what? Mac Jones gets to sit and watch, and
sure.
depending on what happens, maybe the Jags get a comp pick back in 25 anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, with all this, I mean, do you think the Jags have failed Trevor with the draft and free agency? The draft from last year, and then obviously some of the free agency moves.
I think drafting um Brennan Strange and Tank Bigsby could go on to be 2 of the worst decisions this franchise has made, which is
Wow.
saying something because the Jags have made some bad draft decisions. Derek Colvey, Blaine Gabbard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to pass up all these wide receivers year after year, and college football hands you about 57 wide receivers. We
Yeah.
saw last year Tank Dell, Puka Nakua, all these young guys making plays.
Right.
And the Jags draft a backup tight end and a backup running back. What are we doing? What are we doing? If you have draft,
Complacent.
that's what position you are not drafting in Kansas City. A tight end. If you have Christian McCaffrey, you're not drafting a running back. Why are the Jaguars drafting a backup tight end and a backup running back? Give me a freaking break.
Yeah. I agreed. I'm right there with you, Dylan. Yeah, that was certainly it was a frustrating draft. I don't know if Balky and the crew have changed their mind. I guess we'll find out here in a month and a half or so.
And the worst part about it is the Jags moved back about 8 times in that draft. I was yelling like, "What? If you're going to draft a tight end, draft Dalton Kincaid, you idiot!"
Exactly. Yeah, he was right there for sure.
And they moved back 8 times. And I mean, yeah, the Jags needed a tackle and ended up getting the guy many people would have taken. But why not just take? But if Dalton Kincaid's there, why not take him?
Agreed. Yeah, I really think they got complacent after that little playoff run and thought they just needed, they didn't really have any holes or anything like that. But yeah, you have to. I mean, I know it's an old cliche. You got to build your team through the draft, but I mean, just look around. That's what the winners are doing.
I mean, do the Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl without Rashee Rice? Probably not. I mean, how the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl with Rashee Rice and a bunch of and guys who couldn't catch a cold in Alaska last year, or couldn't catch a cold against the Dolphins last
Yeah.
year.
Right.
Thank God we didn't have to play in those weather conditions.
For sure.
Oh boy. Well, Brad, it's been fun tonight talking.
Always.
Maybe the Jags will give you a 5 years, 140 million in a day or two, right?
Yeah. I will certainly take that and quit my day job. That sounds like a deal for sure. Yeah, I'd love to chat with you after the draft happens, and we can hopefully talk about how happy we are. But based on history, I don't know if that's going to be the case.